right, Mr. Mel. We're off and racing and cooking with gas. I think this is like episode number 21.
Oh, yeah, that's not bad.
Of Chronicles on the Fly. How's your week been?
Oh, it's flown past, to be honest. It's been pretty busy, as always, in the accounting finance industry.
Oh, it's wonderful. Sounds exciting. Let's get into that. All right, what are we going to talk about today? Main one that we have been kind of chatting about this morning before the podcast was the ADF, Australian Defence Force, war crimes saga going on at the moment.
Yeah, like I said to you, I didn't hear the whole full 100% story. I've only heard little bits and pieces, and I just tried to do a little bit of reading before.
I don't think anybody's read or is full bottle on what's going on, but from the snippets and bits and pieces and things on the radio that I've heard, my God, sickening.
Tough one. It's a very, very tough one. You got to be careful before we start judging. And I mean, it's what they say has happened is pretty disgusting. We have to admit that, but we don't know the full intersanctum. We're not part of the privy. And to be honest, half the report's been redacted anyway. So
but I think that what has come out, there's enough to show that, some of the things that they have been accused of doing or allegedly have done is pretty sickening and definitely, in the war crimes category. And we had a regular listener send us a message earlier to say, that we should talk about this on the podcast. So that's what we're doing. And also said that maybe it shouldn't become public. I think it should be public though, because at the end of the day, these guys are on our payroll, and I equate it in some sense, at least, to politicians being on our payroll, right? Now, fair enough, we don't need to know all the ins and outs of their missions, when they go to, wars and, whether it's wars or peacekeeping duties or whatever they do, right? But when something like this comes out, then I reckon we need to know. Now, some of the things that I've been, reading and hearing is that, I suppose it comes down to the macho culture, like, as well. But anyway, regardless of that, just the crimes in general that have been alleged, like blooding games. So new recruits being forced to do an execution style kill, whether that's of prisoners or citizens or whatever. It doesn't matter. 2 kids had their throats slit.
This is all allegedly, of course.
People kicked off cliffs, whether they were alive or dead already, I'm not sure, but this is sickening stuff. And then what they would do is plant things on their body, like guns or bombs or whatever, to fake that they had killed, someone in, dissidents or whatever you want to call them, or had been attacked by them. And it's just gross. And to think that, at the end of the day, these guys are over there in our name, on our behalf. So I think that needs to be public. They need to be trialed, and if found guilty, put away for a hell of a long time, and made an example of. And reparations to the families of those people that, to the victims' families.
Like the Australian government has selected these people to do the most horrendous or the most difficult things, and yet they complain that they've done the most difficult things. Now, we don't know now if they shouldn't commit war crimes, but maybe that's the way that they've been trained. We don't know.
I can't imagine that they've been trained to do that. Okay, I can't imagine that these orders like this come from top brass sitting behind a desk.
We can't answer that. That's what I'm saying. I haven't read the report.
Soldiers gone rogue out in the field.
Mm.
Surely. Yeah, okay. Again, we haven't read the report, and are we going to sit through hundreds of pages of report? Of course not. But what comes out is enough to know that this shit stinks to high heaven, and it's got to be cleaned up.
Well, if that's the case, I'm sure there'll be a military police investigation, and we can make our comments. Well, a lot of judgment will happen after that, because at this stage, everything is alleged. So that's what we can say.
Okay, another thing happened this week is your favourite politician and mine, Mr. Mark McGowan, Premier of the country of Western Australia, has helped – fuck, I can't believe this – has helped out the Balcatta Labor ward in their election campaign by signing a T-shirt that said "Locals Only," and that was offered up for raffle, $5 raffles on the Balcatta members' web page and I think Facebook page to raise money for his election campaign. Now, this just goes back to what we've been saying for a number of weeks about McGowan, that his us versus them rhetoric is absolutely sickening. We're supposed to all be in this together, but, locals only. So no one else is allowed in other words. So it all goes back to his border closure, right? It's taking the piss.
It is.
It's laughing about the border closures and trying to make money from it as well.
Yes. And
can you believe who the hell would have given the tick of approval for this type
that was
of
a PR disaster
competition? PR disaster, all right, because they had to pull it because of the backlash from not just social media, but just in the public in general.
Yeah.
How do heads not roll over something like that?
But this is my point, going back to the Stockholm syndrome, right? And then there's some people saying, "Oh, just get over it. It's a joke. It's a joke." And it's like, hang on a minute. Number one, he's a New South Welshman, so don't tell me you're local. You're not local. All right, that's the first thing. I still harp about that. He's not a West Australian. Don't care what he says. He's not a West Australian. He's lived all his life, junior life in New South Wales, so he's not a West Australian. Can't claim. He was going to claim that it's us versus them. But anyway.
Yeah, but I suppose being the premier of a state, just on that there, like being the premier of a state, there can't be a restriction that you have to be West Australian born to be the premier of Western Australia.
But he's alienating the rest of the country when he's one of them. That's what I'm saying.
Well, now you're putting us and them.
No, but I'm saying we're all Australian. But my point is, he's all Australian. Yeah, so we are all Australian. That's what I'm saying. Like, I got an Australian passport. That's what I look. I don't pay state for income tax, do I? Do you? I don't. No one does.
No, well, that's right. So it's offensive to. It should be offensive to Australians that you would run this locals only type of thing joke. Basically, it's a joke T-shirt up for a raffle. Absolutely taking the mickey out of the fact that he's closed the border all this time and other states. People living in other states are not allowed in.
And then I hear people on the radio. I was listening to the radio the other day. It made me a little bit frustrated. There's an old lady called Barbara. Her name was Barbara. And she said...
Barb from the Burbs.
Barb from the Burbs. She was a retired lady living at home, pensioner. And she's complaining that us
dark purple hair and
us younger
curls.
Generation have not taken enough sacrifices, because why should she be locked up if the virus comes in? So she wants the border shut. I went, well, eh?
This is it, right? So the fear mongering that McGowan and his government have done has been spot on, right?
Oh, 100%.
Because they know, governments know this works.
It does,
right? Instill the tiniest bit of fear. Not only will your base run with it, but even staunch Liberal voters are going to be voting for McGowan because they think he's done a good job. The same job that any of us could have done, right? Anybody could have just shut down the borders.
Yes, that's
right.
Correct.
But it takes a true leader to do it in a nuanced way, right? It didn't need to be this long. It didn't need to be this harsh. There have been cases for people to come back and they were not allowed to. Compassionate cases ignored. All right. This is what a fascist dictator does. Not a compassionate leader.
Yep. No. I've said it before. So, my feelings towards the whole situation. I think it's we're a country. We should look at this as a country situation. But anyway.
But people have not realised that he is not being a compassionate leader. He's being a hard nut to get votes. People are not paying attention to the fact of the way he's been acting, the words that he's been saying. People have gone along with the us versus them. They love it. Western Australians love the parochialism bullshit. Okay? It is just like what I can equate it to is in footy as footy fans, right? There are so many people out there that support and follow both Fremantle and the Eagles against all the other teams in the state, in the country. You hear it all the time. I'm an Eagles fan, but, I don't mind the Dockers, especially if they're playing against the Victorian team. What is that shit? What is that shit? Seriously.
Yeah, no, fair, cool.
It's not Western Australia versus the rest of the country, whether it's sport or whether it's anything else, politics. But that's the way people think. And that comes from the top down. It comes from political leaders down. That mentality has been instilled. And I don't know so much if that exists in other states. I don't think so quite as much because those Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, they're more connected, right, over on the eastern seaboard. But here, because of our isolation, it's isolationist thinking. It's fucked up. And it's why they say that we're, 2 or 3 hours behind, but 30 years behind. Okay? Because it's so true.
I know where you're coming from. It's just I think he's the Premier has played to his base, and he's played in general.
Well, that's what I mean. He's played to his base. But it's worked for liberal voters as well.
Mate, it's worked for every voter. Forget about just liberal, national, sporting shooters, you name it. It's worked for everybody. The Greens, but he's definitely he's attracted. I know some. Even speaking to some farmers, they reckon he's done a good job. And Jesus,
even though they should be, one of the first ones affected by border closures.
No, but about the virus, keeping the virus out. Oh, they're affected now because they can't get workers. That's the other issue they got. That's probably a big issue at the moment, especially pickers. They can't get any pickers. I was speaking to another farmer there. He reckons he lost his worker, so working twice as hard now.
No one wants a job because everybody's still getting JobKeeper. A month or so back, my wife's uncle was in hospital. So we were just at the hospital visiting him and having a chat with one of the nurses, male nurse, fairly senior type of guy. He knew his stuff, been a nurse for many years. But they were understaffed, and they were clearly understaffed. This was at Fiona Stanley Hospital. And he was telling us people are being offered shifts, so nurses are being offered shifts, they won't come in. They refuse to do them because they're at home getting JobKeeper.
It's a catch-22 with JobKeeper, unfortunately. The concept is really like the idea of the actual JobKeeper is actually really good, but of course there's going to be people who abuse the system. And I've had the comments come to me saying, "Why do they pay this? And why are they paying $7.50? Why if someone works this much?" It's like they've just picked the number, the median wage, and just ran with it because if they had to do it for everyone. This wage and that wage and drop this one means 200, this one's 400, this one's 600. It would have been an accounting nightmare. It's hard enough for us accountants at the moment. Everything's JobKeeper. And then you're going to lump that on us as well. Jesus. Easy, does it?
Turning our attention to footy briefly.
Yes.
Did you see, I was pretty disappointed this week to see that Lewis Jetta has been cut from the Eagles, not offered a new contract.
I was a bit surprised with that, but two things. One, the AFL, in their conduct in announcing the total player payments and the total list size, has been pathetic. How can you go and have an AFL draft without knowing how many players you're going to have on your list? It's a joke.
Yeah.
This competition is actually a joke. And if someone from overseas looked at this competition, they'd laugh at us. It's like, do you call that a draft? Like, you don't even know how many people go on your team. How are you going to draft? What do you mean? How much are you going to pay him? So how do you know you're going to sign this guy on a contract? How much are you going to pay him?
Yeah, he's been left in limbo for probably about 2 months.
And it's not just him. There's 3 players that have been left in limbo. There was Jetta, there was Archie, and there was Hutchings.
Yeah. But Jetta, I mean, I just that left me flat. That announcement of Jetta. I mean, I know he only because of injury mainly only got 6 games in this season just passed, and then having the injury time out, other players took his spot. You're going to tell me 31 years old, you don't have anything more to offer?
Yeah.
So I'm sure some other club's going to pick him up, but geez, what a player. What a player. He, when he first came to the Eagles, he had a couple of seasons where he just did nothing, right? He just didn't find his feet. But then when he got going, man, he was my favourite player to go and watch live.
Not what I liked about him, he was clean. His kicks were precise. You know what I
His
mean?
kicks, best I've ever seen in the AFL. Such precision kicks. He could hit a 20-cent piece from 50 metres away. Honestly, just magical to watch.
Will Schofield, what do you say? He was probably one of the best players I've ever seen played with. That's a big comment.
He said that he is, yeah, that's a big call, but he said that he's the best player that he's ever played with, yeah.
And he's played with a lot of great players.
I mean, you think about it, right? You're a player on the footy field and you get delivery like that, service like that on your chest, running into space, and he's spraying passes like that, so accurate. I'm not surprised he thinks, Schofield thinks that way. What a player. I just love to watch him.
Unless they've done something and give him a job as in the actual AF in the
Well, in the club, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, the statement that the Eagles made was thank you for your service, basically. So
a player, yeah, but it doesn't mean necessarily.
Yeah, of a player. But normally if there's something something beyond footy that they're offering them, there's talk about that. But I think
there was talk about.
He's 31. He's probably going to go and play another couple of years somewhere else.
There was talk about it that he was going to have another.
Yeah, and if he wants to stay in WA, you never know. He might end up at the Dockers if they're after him. Who knows?
No, I think the Dockers are a different stage
Hope
in their
not.
football career, so in their football path, their journey.
But he was just a real, the character of the team.
Yeah.
I reckon there'd be a lot of Eagles players got to be very disappointed about not having him there anymore.
There were a lot of tweets that were pretty. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. I actually liked him. I reckon it was good, and I reckon it was but the Eagles have done that too. They did it with was it a couple of years ago? They did it with Sherrod Willingham. Who else did they do it with? They did it. Well, they just cut him. I was like, man,
you can't look. That's a difficult comparison. Think about over the history of the Eagles. How many decorated players? Decorated veterans have they cut and not let them go out on their own terms?
Oh,
that's
Matthew
I mean, I'm sure it's happened. I can't.
Priddis?
Who else?
Priddis?
Didn't he just retire?
Well,
or was he not offered a new contract?
Well, there was talk about him. Remember, they were talking. I don't know, but they probably. Well, my interpretation at that time was that probably he was. I wouldn't say pushed out, but basically said there's up and coming players. Where are you going to fit? Because remember,
so
Mitchell
pretty much given no choice.
Was that at the time Mitchell? Sam Mitchell came in for a year, and then they got rid of him. They got rid of what's his name as well.
Mitchell was retiring. He was at the end of his career, even though he was still a gun.
That's what I'm saying. He still probably had a year or two. You know what I mean? And even what's his name? Was the other the ruckman there? They got him over from North Melbourne, Petrie.
Oh, Drew Petrie, yeah.
Yeah, he played a season. But I'm sure there was there probably has been. Or didn't they do that to Worsfold when he was captain?
Yeah, okay. Great example, actually. Yeah, Malthouse just annihilated Worsfold. Yeah. There was a finals match against Carlton, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Dropped from the team. Wrong choice. Even if he wasn't in the best, say,
22 at the time,
best 18 or 22 form, it's the psychological factor.
100%.
How that would affect other players,
100%,
right?
100%.
He's your club leader.
He's your captain.
You want him on the park.
That's it,
right? And even if he's not playing at his peak, his presence is too big to let him go. Right? Especially at such short notice going into a finals match. And they lost it, didn't they? They lost that game.
But the other one was Jetta. What I do like about him was, I'll go back to the 18 grand final when 3/4 time, Ryan had a bit of a shocker in the third term. And then
was that 3/4 time?
Was it 3/4 time or half? Whatever was it when he? No, it was a 3/4 time when he put his arm around him.
He put his arm around Liam Ryan because Ryan had backed out of a challenge. Yeah,
gave him the old, And what happened then?
Yeah, exactly. And then Liam Ryan was a big part of that final play that won us the premiership. So you could say, thank you very much, Lewis Jetta.
There you go. The rest is history, It's
all those small 1%ers that I love about sport. You know what I mean? Things that don't really get reported on because they're not a stat or they're not, they're off the play.
Mm.
But those little things, the small psychological things, or I love that, right? That's what makes sport beautiful.
Yes. Team sport.
Yeah.
Beautiful. It's the one percenters. You're 100% right.
And another thing about Jeddah leaving the Eagles that I thought was a real kick in the guts was that it was announced a couple of days ago on the same day that the Eagles released online, because they've been doing on social media, that Friends Family Flags series about the 2018 season.
Yeah.
And when on the same day they released the grand final episode.
Yeah.
Was the same day that they announced that thanks very much, Lewis Jeddah. I was like, what a kick in the guts. You know what I mean? I mean, it's a small thing, and hardly anyone probably would have picked up on that, but I did.
Yeah.
And obviously it wasn't intentional, but I just thought that just doesn't sit well with me.
The other thing is the COVID vaccines. I wanted to talk about that. What are your thoughts? 2 vaccines, apparently.
Very suspect, the timing of at least the first announcement by Pfizer, a week after the election. You're going to tell me that they didn't keep that up their sleeve?
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, Trump administration had given them over $1 billion.
Yeah.
To develop a vaccine. I think that's what I saw.
Yeah, like Pfizer needs more money because I'm sure they're really short of a dollar, that one. But would you line up and have a vaccine?
Nope. I'm in WA. We've got closed borders, so I don't need it. Let's just say I wouldn't go first.
I wouldn't go first, but I'll definitely line up to have one.
But you know what is going to happen? I don't think the government's going to force you.
No.
Because there's all this talk now about, whether there's going to be forced vaccinations. I don't think the government will need to enforce it. Because companies will enforce it.
No, no, it's going to be.
It's going to be jab to play.
No, it's going to be. This is what I reckon. I reckon your insurance companies are going to force you because one way or another, they're going to turn around and say, you want to go on a holiday to Bali, all right? You need travel insurance.
This is what I mean.
Your travel insurance is going to say, have you had the COVID-19 vaccination? Yes or no? No, you're not getting insurance. Yes, I'll get insurance. That's it. So they're going to force you one way or another. Everyone's going to get it. That's what I think.
Yeah.
And it's in the interest of the insurance company to put that clause in.
That's part of what I mean by companies and corporations enforcing it, right? Yeah. And also, you're not going to be allowed to enter certain venues if you haven't got some digital certificate showing that you've had the vaccination. Things like this, right? Concert venues, for example, perfect example. I think that this eventually will creep in. And what is this? This is a corporatocracy. This is the new world that's
the
coming.
New normal. This is the new normal, the word of 2020, the new normal, or ISO. They're the words of 2020.
And with that stuff, it makes you wonder how much this was planned and designed.
No, I don't believe that.
Come on, to some extent, or at least the situation taken advantage of.
Well, there's definitely that. Definitely taken advantage of. We're not don't deny that one. It's an excuse now. And it's COVID this and COVID that, COVID safe. I'm just curious what's going to happen with travel. I think long term it'll all get back to normal because you can't lock people up forever. Short term, everyone's going to be wearing masks and doing all that sort of crap until they just say, "Look, really,
it's going to be. When did all this start? Really, in Australia, it kicked off around March, towards the end of March, I think.
Yeah.
It'll be a good 2 years before things go back to normal, I reckon. So I reckon pretty much all of next year as well. And there'll be little spot fires here and there of breakouts and things like that.
Well,
happened in Adelaide during the week.
Yeah, well, so that's. Did you see that? The lockdown's been lifted.
Yeah, it got lifted early because apparently I don't know the full story, but some guy who had it misled them or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how he misled them. But yeah, I don't know. Did you read about that?
No, I was just I did read something about it. Was at the pizza shop or something? Woodville Pizza. He said he was there.
Pizza worker maybe or something. I don't know. I don't know how he misled the contact tracers. I couldn't quite work out exactly what the story was there, but I saw a bit of the press conference by the Premier. What's his name? Marshall?
Steve Marshall.
South Australia. And he was fuming. He was not happy.
Oh, is he not happy at his contact tracers? Or?
No, he was not happy about this guy who misled them in however he's misled them.
Yeah.
Because that was what they used as the reason to implement the lockdown.
But in Steve Marshall's defence, at least he had the what's the word? The leadership to say, okay, we made a mistake, shut it down.
Oh yeah, exactly. I agree.
I'll take my hands off. Dan Andrews didn't do that.
What was McGowan's comment about South Australia having a lockdown, saying, he's a liberal leader, so I bet he won't get as much scrutiny type of thing as much as Dan Andrews in Victoria got, because Dan Andrews is Labor, right? But hang on, isn't that a false equivalency? Because South Australia didn't have the security personnel going in and out of the hotel rooms rooting around, did they?
Yeah.
No, Victoria had that, and that caused a massive outbreak.
And they had the BLM protest, remember?
Exactly. Black Lives Matter protests going on in the cities. Yeah, I'm sure that caused nothing. Yeah. So just the lack of awareness, the lack of self-awareness by our famous Premier drives me insane. Anyway, if we get back to that, we'll spend another hour. So let's not.
No, but I think I'm just curious because next year, like the years come, like we're almost there. What are we, 40 odd days? What are we, close to 40 days to the end of the year? And next year, so they've postponed the Tokyo Olympics. Well, they're going to start in 6 months again. Well, the way things are, we don't know.
Also, Euro 2020, that's become, that's been pushed the next year too. So, and that's going to be that's not hosted in just one country. That's all across Europe this time around. So, at the moment, they've said that every venue is remaining, but that might have to change because if leading up to it, let's say Rome is a city who's hosting a bunch of games. If there's continued breakouts in virus in Italy, especially in Rome, what are they going to do? Play them behind closed doors?
Well, look. You think about it, right? You think in England, right? They're going to have this where the final's going to be in Wembley, is it not?
Yeah, both semis and the finals are at Wembley in London. Yeah,
so they're at Wembley, right? So chances are, if it gets hosted with no crowd, England or the UK can't have another Euro final for another 20 years or 40 years? So why would they want to host it this year? They're not going to have anybody.
Well, how can you change? So, how can you change the format, the venues and everything? Like at the moment, it's not really short notice. They could probably pull something off.
How many countries in the Euro? I
don't know, 30 plus? How many?
No, in the Euro comp. There won't be 30 countries in the Euro comp.
Oh, in the competition? Yeah. I think it's 32.
In the competition? No, impossible. Let me have a look here. That's 24 teams. There we are. 24
okay.
teams. 6 groups. Okay? Now, how's this sound? Does this sound really dumb to you? Just throwing it out, never going to happen. If our country and our leaders want to be really say, you can go ahead. You can have full stadiums. You can have two groups in Sydney, 2 groups in Melbourne, 1 in Adelaide, 1 in Perth. Imagine that.
What, they move it to Australia?
Well, why not? At least you're going to have crowds.
The Euros competition.
Well, what are you going to do, Sam? Not have it? Or have it behind closed doors?
They're not going to move it to Australia, Mel. Where are you pulling this from?
I'm just saying, like, if you want to be, you can make it attractive to some countries, you know what I mean, or have a competition here. You can take advantage of that. We don't.
In the worst case scenario, what they will do is just like they've been running the leagues.
Behind closed doors.
They'll just do that and just rely on the television income.
Sad.
Right? They'll lose out on
revenue, hospitality,
fan attendance, but they'll do it all empty stadiums,
Nah,
which will be shit for atmosphere.
absolutely.
Whether you're playing the game or, I mean, they're probably used to it by now, to be honest. And I don't know, maybe have they been putting crowd noise on soccer games?
I don't know. Yeah, but still fake. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not the same. But at the end of the day, is the competition any different? What you lose out is the teams, the national teams that have home advantage. Like, Italy's 3 group games are all in Rome with no crowd. That pretty much neutralises to a large extent the home venue.
Would you, as a player, perform better if you had 50,000 people watching you, or just in an empty stadium?
Yes.
Well, there you
Yes.
go.
With the crowd. Yeah, the crowd. That doesn't mean that you're not going to perform, right, with no crowd. But just I can even say from junior soccer days, I used to love playing. Like I played on either left midfield or right midfield mostly. But I loved it most of all when I was on the side, when I played on the side where all the parents were watching, when I was close to them, because I could hear them yelling. And I just got more of a buzz playing when I was closer to the crowd. Yeah.
That's my point.
So, it's the same mentality is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
You want that buzz of the home crowd behind you, for sure.
Well, the Olympics are going to be a write-off again, the way it's looking.
I don't know. I mean, what's Japan doing? Is it in Japan?
Japan, yeah, Japan.
Yeah, right. It's Tokyo, isn't it? Of course. I don't know. I don't know what their COVID situation is.
Are they going to let people come in from COVID countries like the United States?
I'm sure that is a big thing on their mind over there, and they're planning, not letting anything in.
Okay. You think the United States team would be what? How many people would come with the United States? 1,000 people? At least.
Their contingent, yeah, you'd say easy 1,000.
Easy. Well, they got
probably
2,000 people.
They probably have 1,000 competitors.
Yeah, 1,000 competitors. It's another 1,000 people, coaches and staff and masseuse and all that crap, And then you have, all the media contingency. You're telling me, just say 3,000 people, 4,000 people coming from the United States. No one of them's going to be in contact with COVID.
Oh, that's a good point. That's interesting. Coming from all around the United States with fucking schmozzle they've got going over there with COVID.
And not to mention the schmozzle from Russia, the schmozzle from China, or not so much China because we don't know, but Europe, from Italy, from Germany, from France, from England. What are you going to do? What's Japan going to say? You're not coming. Then we're going to have a problem.
I hadn't actually thought about it, but that is a massive 100,000 people come into Tokyo, right, for the Olympics. At least there's not going to be fans coming in from around the world. I would guess. But what are they going to do? Everyone has to do 14 days quarantine.
Yeah. And so you're an elite athlete. You're training 2 weeks before. You can't train because you got stuck in a room. You think about it. You know what I mean?
I actually got to admit, I had not even considered the Olympics. And now that you think about it, how the hell can they go ahead with it?
It's going to be a schmozzle.
Even, what is it? Is it scheduled for July?
July, I think it's in July, August, somewhere in there.
June, July, probably. I can't see it because it's not going to be over by then, all this stuff.
No, it's impossible. Look at the way America's having the wave now. They're getting, what are they getting? How many cases a day? What, they get 100,000 cases a day?
I mean, the thing about it now is people are not having it for as long, and it's not as, it seems to be, anyway, it seems that they're not having it for as long. Not as many are dying because they're treating it better. I think obviously over this time they've learnt how to treat it better.
Well, there's more respirators, more ventilators.
Let's say the Olympics have to be called off. All right, maybe they can push the Olympics to 2022. Maybe. But how do you push the Euro competition? How do you push the Euros competition to 2022? Because that's when a World Cup is supposed to be played. So that can't be done. It's either next year they do it or they can it altogether. Or maybe they push it to Christmas time, December or something like that, and put a break in all the leagues. And then 6 months later have the World Cup in 2022 as well. I don't know. This is a big one.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, that's just 2 sporting competitions. Forget about the rest of them. I mean, the other ones aren't as big as those ones, But imagine Qatar. Oh, my God. That's what the next World Cup is going to be. Wonder how they're going. And look at with the construction of their stadiums and all the
Yeah,
infrastructure.
no, at least
there.
it'll be nice and hot and kill the coronavirus.
That's actually very true.
Even if there's nothing in Tokyo or Japan, but especially Tokyo, all those people coming in, it's just going to could cause a breakout throughout the whole country.
Mm.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
I'd be a little bit concerned if there was a big worldwide event in Australia, I think.
Well, especially when you're getting that sort of people coming in. It's not as if you're getting, not like the French Open where you're getting 50 players or 200 players or whatever. You're talking, thousands and thousands of people.
An Olympics, a World Cup. I mean, the whole world converges on the country. Even the Olympics, I hardly watch any of it.
No, I like the Olympics. Olympics are good.
It's overrated, mate. I reckon it's overrated. 100 meters, beautiful. I watch that, any day. But apart from that,
the weightlifting is awesome.
Nah.
I like watching the skeet shooting, trapping skeet. Amazing. I reckon it's awesome. Because you don't see half those sports. The hammer throw.
Yeah, there's a reason why.
The hammer throw, the discus. That's cool, man. That's really the javelin, the high jump.
They're all great athletes, but hardly any of this stuff interests me. It's just me. I'm not saying that they're not worthy of having an event or not worthy of being sports. It just doesn't really interest me. It used to. When I was a kid, I used to love it. I used to love that the World Cup and the Olympics and the Euros would alternate every 2 years, and that 1 year in between where there's nothing, that would suck.
Yeah.
I hated that. Now, it's like I don't really care about the Olympics or the Commonwealth Games.
I always look at the pole vaulting. I think to myself, man, imagine if I did that, how many pole vaults I would snap. Like, how do they do that? I'd snap every one.
I'd love to see you do a high jump.
A high jump? No, pole vault, man. The pole vault. Or do the uneven bars in gymnastics. Or the pommel horse. What's the pommel horse?
You'd be good at the rhythmic gymnastics. That's what you'd be good at.
I'd be good at
with the ribbon and the rings and the ball, throwing the ball up.
I'll be good at the pie eating competition, mate. That's what I'll be good at.
The strongman competition. I think they do that I think they do it in Scotland.
Oh, there's a few. They're all over the world. That's the they're amazing.
Carry the big tire.
Oh, they're amazing. They're absolutely amazing. They are monsters. Actually, when I was overseas, was it last year? Last year, I think it was. When we could travel, I went to a place in Malaysia and they had the international arm wrestling competition on. Oh my God. Oh my!
You watched it live?
No, they were staying in the same hotel. They were these guys. They were like, you'd see these. They call themselves athletes, right? And that's what they are. They're athletes, right? And but they train. They just all they do is just arm kills, man. Their biceps are massive.
So got tiny bodies and massive arms.
No, their upper body is just massive, like huge, absolutely huge, absolutely huge.
Mm-hmm.
I actually was there talking to a few. I was talking to a few guys there. There's one guy I was talking to. It was a nice guy. It was a Russian guy. I said, "Oh, hey, you going, mate?" Yeah. I said, "Do you want to buy? I'll buy your beer." No, I'm training. I said, "Oh,
Yuri. What was his name?
I can't remember." So it was like, okay. So he had I said no to you. I said, fair enough. It's all good. Next, he lights up a smoke, and I'm like, I thought you said you're training.
A lot of money in that sport, is there?
Oh, I don't know. They were big boys, man. Like big. Like, I ain't exactly the smallest man in the world, but mate, that made me look like a midget. That was huge.
Is that a sport?
Yeah.
Do you consider that a sport?
Well, I do. Why not? They're using their body for an athletic sort of. Do you consider darts a sport?
That was going to be my next question. No, I don't consider darts a sport. I consider it a skill, definitely. But no, not a sport.
What is a professional sport?
There's got to be another term for it, but I can't say sport.
It's a hobby.
Same as billiards or pool.
Yeah, but people make living from that. So
I get that. But there's no athletic endurance involved. So I'm sorry, no.
With the arm wrestling, yeah, absolutely, man. You got to see these guys. When they're Their arms are massive. You got to see it. It's incredible. They were huge. I can't tell you. Their arms were bigger than my thigh.
Yeah, okay, but they're roided up, man. Come on.
No, apparently not. They just train hard, apparently. So,
Oh, of course. It's all those pies they eat, those Russian pies.
but mate, they were monsters. Absolutely, 6'8". They were huge guys. That was awesome to see actually. And they invited us to the. I met the manager there, the promoter. I was having. I actually got his name, not in my phone somewhere. His name might have been Yuri. Yeah, I think it was actually. He invited me to the premiere, the opening of the night, and he gave us some tickets. I was like, I'm not going to be here. I was leaving. I left that day, so it was a shame. I would have gone. It would have been good to see actually. Just to say I went to it. That would have been cool.
What about going back to the Olympics? Synchronized drowning. I mean, synchronized swimming.
That is amazing how they do that. Really, you got to give them credit.
Is that a sport?
Well, they are very athletic. If you use your athletic term, what they're doing is very athletic.
Is that a sport?
Well, it is.
Is that a sport?
Yes. It's athletic. By your term, is it athletic? Yes. Do you think it's a sport?
I'm struggling to articulate this one without offending. Not that I give a shit about offending people. So my answer is obviously clear.
I think it's a sport. If you're doing anything athletic, it's a sport.
It's more. It's like a presentation. It's a spectacle. But whether it's a sporting endeavor, you know what? When it comes to the Olympics, I struggle with everything that is judged. I struggle with other people having to judge who wins.
Yeah, but that case, that's gymnastics. What do you do then?
Yep, totally.
But that's the most famous Olympic sport almost.
They are fantastic at what they do, okay? And there's a lot that I like watching about those things, like, you know, the rings, all right? They're great. What's the one with the bars on the two different levels and they
uneven
swing and jump, the uneven bars? That is amazing, right? That is absolutely amazing. At the end of the day, they are being judged with other people giving them a score. All right, and knowledgeable people, of course. But when the subjectivity comes into it, that's where I struggle with sport.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So let's take soccer, right? You have to score the most goals to win. Cricket, you've got to score the most runs. Athletics, running, right? The marathon, you've got to be the fastest to cross the line first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That works for me.
Mm-hmm.
But the sports where you are judged and other people call the winner because of the scores that they give, ice skating or figure skating, I just struggle giving a shit about them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm sure I'm not alone in that.
Oh, well.
And some of them are really great sports, right? Amazing skill that, you know, most of us can only dream of having. I get that. But, you know what I mean? Like, because it's so subjective, you know, how many times would the silver medalist really should have been the gold medalist? I'm sure it happens all the time.
Oh, I'm sure it has happened.
So this is what I struggle with when it comes to those judged sports. Maybe there's some ignorance built into those comments in some way, and I can concede that. But that's why just give me ball sports, give me running race any day of the week.
I'd probably disagree on that one. I don't mind.
Okay, you can disagree. Yeah. What's your reasoning? Why am I wrong? Tell me why I'm wrong. Change my mind.
I'm not going to change your mind. That's your opinion, but
hey, you might. You know, I'm open-minded.
Huh?
Change my mind. Maybe change my mind. Maybe I'll be watching synchronized drowning in Tokyo.
I just think it's an amazing skill. So those people on the uneven bars.
I agree with you that it's an amazing skill, but change my mind that I don't know. Well, they are sports, but I don't know. They're just not sports that I can get behind.
Is boxing a sport? By your reason?
If you knock the guy out, then yes, it's a sport. If you win on points, it's not a sport. No, I'm kidding there. I'm kidding about that.
That's an Olympic
again,
sport.
It's the same thing. It's judged, all right? It's not.
Yes.
If it's a fight to the death, it's more of a sport.
Yeah, is that
It's
what,
more of a sport.
so why would boxing not be considered a sport? Because it gets judged.
All right, there's occasions where it's obvious who wins, but when it's like it's dead even, and then it's judged, and then the judges' calls disputed. I struggle to. What I'm saying when I say I struggle to rationalize it in my mind that the correct decision was made. For example,
Well, that's like any sport now, you know. Like, look at VAR. Look how many decisions they make. Supposedly supposed to be right.
there was one of the fights between Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier. I can't remember which one, but Frazier got robbed.
Frazier didn't get robbed. Frazier, actually, I was completely blocked.
Was it the Thriller in Manila? Was that Frazier?
Pretty sure it's Thriller in Manila. Yeah.
Right. Frazier was coming out.
Yep.
Rain, hail or shine. Frazier was coming out for the 12th round, I think it was, or maybe it was the 15th round. Ali's corner were going to throw in the towel.
Correct.
But before it started, the referee called it off because of
The doctor called it. The doctor.
Oh, the doctor. Okay. But Ali wasn't coming back out. So he got lucky. Ali got lucky.
And he still admits it to this day. Till the day he died. But that fight there was a bit. What do you do? The guy wanted to come out. His eye was. Did you see his eye?
Yeah, hanging out of his socket. But if he's coming out,
yeah, but Simon's coming out. Like, there's an element of responsibility too.
They had 3 bouts, right? They had 3 fights.
Yeah, 3.
And it's 2-1 to Ali. Should have been 2-1 to Frazier, right?
So, yes,
should have been.
I actually felt sorry for Joe Frazier. He's
Joe Frazier
was a champion.
Was possibly better at that time than Ali.
Yes. Well, again, I'm not a boxing historian, but just from what I've seen.
Not either, but just from things I've seen and read about their rivalry. And what I also hated about their rivalry was that Ali trashed the absolute crap out of him.
He called him an Uncle Joe.
And Ali, because of his charisma, turned the media against Frazier. And Joe Frazier resented Muhammad Ali for the rest of his days because of that.
Yeah.
Because of the way he ripped him apart in the media.
And unfortunately, the media took this, and it showed, and in actual fact, there was a documentary, it was a fantastic documentary, I've got to find it, I can't remember what it was called, I think it might have been an ESPN one, and it actually showed that Joe Frazier would come from the South, grew up a hard life, whereas Muhammad wasn't as,
Muhammad Ali had the more privileged life.
Yeah. But the media spun it the other way around. And he never spoke to his doctor. He never spoke to his doctor after that either, I think. That was the last time he spoke to his doctor. All
right. Just throw in the towel and I'll see you later on, yeah?
Have a good one.
I'll see you later on this afternoon.
Yes. No, tonight, isn't it?
We're going for a drink.
Are we?
Yeah.
All right, yes. No dramas. I'm not drinking anyway, so I'm a diet.
Oh, you're such a good boy.
I know.
Okay. Adios. Ciao.
The biggest round of the fight for anybody. Frazier was within a punch or two of going down. The doctor comes up and looks at Frazier. I think it's going to be over. It's all over. I'm going to get up in the ring. I'm up in the ring here. And Muhammad Ali is pretty well spent, and I'm going to try to get over at him. We're trying to get in here to talk to Ali, who has retained his title, and I think he needs a little air because this has to have been one of the most bruising heavyweight championships of all time. Here's Joe Frazier come over to talk to Muhammad Ali. He's disappointed. Muhammad, can you say a word now around the world? Muhammad, I'd like to ask you about the fight. Just a question. Did you have any doubt about winning at any time?
Well, in round 10, I was surprised Joe had so much stamina. I was surprised as in shape he was. And if I didn't have the condition, I know I would have lost. It was too much pressure.
I think he deserved a lot of
He is the greatest fighter of all times next to me.
Except for you.
Except for me.
Thank you very much, Muhammad Ali, and good luck. Well, what do you think now? What's the future? Foreman against
George
Martin, and you
Foreman.
fight the winner?
That's right. And then I want to retire. This is too painful. It's too much work.
Okay.
Might have a heart attack or something. I want to get up while I'm on top.
I know you're tired. Thank you again, and congratulations.
One more thing. I want everybody to know that I'm the greatest fighter of all times, and the greatest city of all times is Louisville, Kentucky.